Hi, glad you stopped by today. We're to jump back into Flipped. Juliana was at the dinner party, and she was realizing during this dinner party that she really didn't have any feelings for him anymore. Not really anger, nothing. She's just totally detached, neutral feeling. No fireworks, no leftover anger or resurging flutters. Nothing. After we had had dessert and it was time to go, I went up to Bryce and told him I was sorry for having been so fierce when we first came in. I should have let you apologize, and really, it was very nice of your family to have us over. I know it was a lot of work, and, well, I think my mom had a really good time, and that's what matters to me. We were looking right at each other, but it was almost as though he didn't hear me. Bryce, I said, I'm sorry. He nodded, and then our families were waving goodbye and saying goodnight. I walked behind my mother, who was holding hands with my father, and beside my brothers, who were carrying home what was left of our pies. We all wound up in the kitchen, and Matt poured himself a glass of milk and said to Mike, "That Mr. Losky was sniffing us out pretty good tonight, wasn't he?" "No kidding. Maybe he thinks we're hot for his daughter." "Not me, dude. You?" Mike got himself a glass of milk, too. "That's Skylar's gig. No way I'd go there." He grinned. "But she was really cool tonight. Did she come down on Papa Bear or what?" My dad took a paper plate out of the cupboard and cut a slice of pie. "You boys showed a lot of restraint tonight. I don't know if I could have kept my cool that way." "Ah, he's just, entrenched," Matt said. "Gotta adjust to the perspective and deal from there." Then he added, "Not that I'd want him as my dad." Mike practically sprayed his milk. "Dude, can you imagine?" Then Matt gave my dad a slap on the back and said, "No way, I'm sticking with my main man here." Mom grinned from across the kitchen and said, "Me too." I had never seen my father cry. And he didn't actually sit there bawling, but there were definitely tears welling up in his eyes. He blinked them back the best he could and said, "Don't you boys want some pie to go with that milk?" "Dude," Matt said as he straddled a chair, "I was just thinking that." "Yeah," Mike said, "I'm starved." "Get me a plate too," I called as Mike dug through the cupboard. "But we just ate," my mother cried. "Come on, Trina, have some pie. It's delicious." I went to bed that night feeling very full and very happy. And as I lay there in the dark, I wondered how much emotion can go into any given day, and thought how nice it was to feel this way at the end of it. And as I nestled in and drifted off to sleep, my heart felt wonderfully free. The next morning I still felt good. I went outside and sprinkled the yard, enjoyed the splish and patter of water on the soil, wondering when that first little blade of grass would spring up into the sunshine. Then I went out back, cleaned the coop, raked the yard, and dug up some of the bigger weeds growing along the edges. Mrs. Stubbe leaned over the side fence as I was shoveling my rakings and weeds into a trash can and said, "How's it going, Juliana? Making meat for a rooster?" "A rooster? Why, certainly. Those hens need some motivation to start laying more." It was true. Bonnie and Clydette and the others were only laying about half the eggs that they used to, but a rooster? "I don't think the neighborhood would appreciate my getting a rooster, Mrs. Stubbe. Besides, we'd get chicks, and I don't think we can handle any more poultry around here." "Nonsense! You have spoiled these birds, giving them the whole yard. They can share the space easily. How else are you going to maintain your business? Soon those birds won't be laying anything at all." "They won't?" "Well, very little." I shook my head, then said, "They were just my chicks that grew into chickens and started laying eggs. I never really thought of it as a business." "Well, my running a tab has probably contributed to that, and I'm sorry. I'll be sure and get you the whole sum this week, but consider buying yourself a rooster with some of it. I've got a friend down on Newcomb Street who is positively green over my deviled eggs. I gave her my recipe, but she says hers just don't taste the same. I'm certain she'd pay handsomely for a supply of my secret ingredient if it came available. She turned to go and then said, "By the by, Juliana, you have done a mighty fine job on that front yard. Most impressive." "Thanks, Mrs. Stubbe," I called as she slid open her patio door. "Thanks very much." I'd finished scooping up the piles I'd made and thought about what Mrs. Stubbe had said. Should I really get a rooster? I had heard that having one around made the chickens lay more, whether they were in contact with each other or not. I could even breed my chickens and get a whole new set of layers. But did I really want to go through all that again? Not really. I didn't want to be the neighborhood rancher. If my girls quit laying altogether, that would be fine with me. I put away the rake and shovel, clucked a kiss on each of the hens, and went out inside. It felt good to take charge of my own destiny. I felt strong and right and certain. Little did I know how a few days back at school would change all of that. Uh-oh, what's going to change? The next chapter is titled Flipped, and it's Bryce's perspective. Oh boy, here we go. Tune in next time. I'll see you later. Be kind to one another.